One spot is clinched and 8 teams are still alive for the remaining 6 spots. Let's look at the AFC playoff picture heading into week 16. Calculations are from the playoff computer app. Check it out for fantasy sports or even do your own analysis of many pro leagues, including the NFL. For an entire year, the premium stuff is about the price of one beer. The Broncos beat the Packers rather convincingly to hit 12 wins, which is good enough to secure the first playoff spot, as there aren't enough teams that could equal that for a wild card spot, even if they were to lose out. They can upgrade their seat to a division winner spot with a win over the Jaguars and a Chargers loss to the Cowboys, as that would eliminate any chance of the Chargers tying them in record and winning the tiebreaker. The Patriots soundly beat the Bills in the first quarter, but they strangely enough still play 4 quarters in the NFL, so they blew a chance to clinch the division. They will try to regroup and travel to Baltimore. They cannot clinch the AFC East this week. They can, however, officially clinch a playoff spot with a win, a Texas loss, or a Colts loss. The win would give them the insurmountable 12 wins. The Colts loss would eliminate them from catching up to the Patriots. And the Texans loss would mean that since the Texans and Colts still play each other one more time, that both couldn't end up with 11 wins. The Bills, with that dramatic comeback over the Patriots, now find themselves within striking distance. Now there is still a scenario in which they get to 11 wins and miss the playoffs. Both the Texans and Colts could beat them in a tiebreaker if they were all tied at 11 wins. So they cannot clinch a spot with just a win this week. They would need to beat the Browns, which seems doable, and have either the Texans or Colts lose. The Colts loss seeming more likely than the Texans losing to the Raiders. The Chargers ended the Chiefs' season and kept a little above those trying to chase them down for a wildcard spot, as well as keep AFC West title hopes alive. Much like the Bills, they would need a couple things to happen to clinch a playoff spot this week. In fact, it is the same picture, needing a win over the Cowboys and either the Texans or Colts to lose. The Jaguars beat whatever a semblance of disinterested people that dressed up as professionals in Jets uniforms. That kept them a game up on the Texans in the AFC South. The Texans could still either pass them in record or win a tiebreaker, so things aren't settled yet. Like the others, 11 wins isn't a guarantee. They have a challenge with the Broncos this week. They clinch a spot with a win and either a Texans or Colts loss, but they also have a third option on the menu. A win and a Chargers loss would also do the trick, and that is because the Chargers play the Texans next week, and like I mentioned, the Texans play the Colts. So worst case for the Jaguars in this scenario is that they all end up at 11-6, with the Colts and Texans beating them in best in division tiebreakers, but they would own the tiebreaker over the Chargers as they beat them earlier. The Texans won their 6th in a row, beating the Cardinals to stay in the hunt, and the way things are going for the Colts, the Texans are in pretty good shape. They should be able to keep the good times rolling with a home game against the Raiders. They, however, cannot clinch a spot this week, even with a win and a Colts loss, as they both could still end up at 10-7, splitting the season series, having identical division records, bringing things to the common games tiebreaker, which they could end up being tied for that as well, bringing things to the conference games tiebreaker, which they also could end up being tied, bringing us finally to strength of victory, which it looks like the Colts could still win. The Steelers with a big win over the Dolphins, knocking Miami out of playoff contention and giving the Steelers a big edge over the Ravens for the AFC North. Now 2-3 odds to win the division. And there still is some crazy scenario out there in which they could still achieve a wild card spot. Unlikely, but still there. They have a tough game against the Lions this week, then the Browns before closing things out with the Ravens. They cannot clinch a spot this week. Even if they win and the Ravens lose, the Ravens could still beat them in the division tiebreaker, were they to end up tied at 9-8. That brings us to those Ravens. Ended the Bengals' dreams. Still close to the Steelers, but have their work cut out for them. Host the Patriots, then an away game at Green Bay before the finale with the Steelers. Win them all, and they are the AFC North champions. As in that case, at 10-7, the worst that could happen is end up tied with the Steelers at 10 wins, splitting the season series, identical 4-2 division records, bringing us to another episode of Common Games Tiebreaker, in which the Ravens would be guaranteed to win with the winning out part. Well, he almost pulled it off. Granddad Rivers almost turned around the Colts losing streak, but they fell to the Seahawks and Jason Myers for the fourth loss in a row, bringing their mathematical odds down to near 1-4. Still an outside chance to win the division, but things are not looking good. They do not currently control their own destiny, so they are going to need to start winning and get help. Unfortunately, their brutal finishing schedule continues with the 49ers this week. If they can somehow pull off a win at home, then they would host the Jaguars and then the Texans, so there would still be at least some hope. The Dolphins' Monday night loss ended their chances, as it is impossible for a 9-win team to get a wild card. The Chiefs ditto on a 9-win team not being able to get a wild card. And the Bengals were finally eliminated from the AFC North. The Jets, Browns, Titans, and Raiders were all previously eliminated. That's it for now. Check out the Playoff Computer app for all your own playoff race analysis needs and enjoy your day.